Welcome to the Italian American Stories podcast. Today we are talking about a new documentary that's coming out in a few days, Mama, That's All Right. And it is directed by Valentina Signorelli, and it features two incredible Italian musicians, Luca Chiappara and Mario Monterosso. And the documentary, it follows their journey from Italy to American South, Nashville and Memphis, Tennessee, where they chase their own version of the American Dream through music. And it even includes a special appearance by Priscilla Presley, which was pretty cool. So, welcome to the podcast, you guys. I'm excited to have you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Perfect. All right. Well, should we just go ahead and kind of give the listeners just a brief overview, no spoilers about the documentary?
Yeah, sure. So basically, this is what I like to define as a non-film. So basically, a series or a collection of observational notes about Luca and Mario's lives. It's set during July the 4th last year, and it basically tells their lives over the course of a few days during July the 4th, when Mario invites Luca to drive from Nashville to Memphis to record a couple songs. And that happened during more or less the 70th anniversary of the release of That's Right, Mama by Elvis Presley. So that's basically the story.
Okay, great. That was one of my questions, was the title of the documentary, if there was a meaning behind that or if it was just the connection to Elvis.
Well, there is a strong connection to Elvis for many reasons, but also the title, it was kind of a tribute to that. And we had the privilege of featuring Priscilla Presley, a cameo from her. So it was the perfect way, the cherry on top of the whole project. I don't know if Luca and Mario want to add anything.
Well, at the same time, Mama, That's All Right. It's very Italian. That's the first thing you say when you call your mom overseas. Hey, Mama, that's all right. Tutto bene. Don't worry, even if your life is a disaster, you never say that. Everything you say is, hey, Mama, that's all right. No problem at all.
Yep. It's even spelled like with the two M's and everything. So I noticed that as well. So how did all of you guys meet and kind of start this project?
Well, so I met Luca almost 10 years ago in Palermo when he was still in Italy, and we were both touring. I'm a filmmaker, he's a musician. So somehow we became friends, and we remained friends for a long time. And then I happened to be in Nashville a couple of years ago for another project, and I was staying at Luca's. And then I noticed that NIAF, so the National Italian American Foundation, was partnering up with Aurelio De Laurentiis for a series of, film grants and for a film program. And I thought, okay, we have the perfect story, because the aim of the program was to tell non-stereotypical stories of Italian Americans or Italians in today's America. And so I thought, okay, this is what we can do, because usually you don't associate the Italian or the Italian American experience to the southern states of the United States. It's generally, New York and Chicago, New Jersey and San Francisco and blah, blah, blah. And so then Luca introduced me to Mario, and I thought, okay, they work well together on the screen. They don't have to talk to each other to return the kind of vibe and friendship they have. And I think that can work. And that's how it started. I don't know if Luca and Mario want to say anything from their perspective, because that's my perspective, but that's all for me, basically.
Me and Mario met on Mario's last summer in Sicily. And I've heard of him a lot, but he wasn't living in Sicily at the time. So it was like more of a mythological character. So when we met, he told me his story, and he's the first person that I met that was planning on moving to the United States. So ever since we became friends and somehow shared the same humor, shared some similar experiences, and so we friends. So I haven't seen him for a while. And then with my old band, we came to the United States to tour, and he was our fourth guy here. And so that's how I got to spend a little more time with them. It's interesting because like everybody that wants to do the same thing, like they decide to move abroad with the same dream in his mind. They all share the same story somehow. And it's interesting, after years, Mario, he's probably one of the closest connection I have in the world, one of the closest people I have in the world. And now that we live even closer, it proves that we're coming from the same background. And same goes with Valentina. So it was nice to work all together on this.
Yeah, it's a beautiful film. And going back to what you said, Valentina, about people don't really see Italian Americans or Italians in the southern states. That's an interesting aspect. And I really liked how the film was set up, especially at the beginning with the gentleman in the shooting range and just the different types of Tennesseans, I guess you could say. My father was born and raised in the South, and they would sit on the porch and play their music. So I really connected with that as well. I guess I have a question for Mario and Luca. Is Tennessee, was that a place that you saw yourself going to? Like, did you know when you came to America you wanted to go there because of the music connection, or was there other places?
Well, in my case, yes, that was my obvious choice because I grew up with Memphis music,
Mm.
with rock and roll, rockabilly, blues music coming from Memphis. I was still living in Rome in 2015, and I began to work with this old Memphis artist. His name is Taff Falco. He's an old punk rocker, and I was on tour with him 2015. And when I got in Memphis, I said, well, this is the place where I would love to live for a while. So I had no doubt when I moved here. Memphis was the only choice that I had. Not even Nashville. And the funny thing that now I'm just moved to Nashville, and that's like 10 days ago. In the movie, there's this Mr. Lansky asked me at one point, Mario, are you trying to be a Nashville cat? And I said, no, not at all. I will always be a Memphis cat. And I moved to Nashville.
And here you are.
We got him.
What are the differences between Tennessee and Italy? I mean, I can only imagine. There's probably pros and cons, of course, but what are some of the major differences that you guys have noticed?
Oh, I can start. Weapons, first place. It's the opening scene of the movie. I'm
Yes.
not used to those. I don't like them. I don't like them around me. But it's a cultural thing here. I know that people relate to having guns, owning guns, and having their glove box in a different way than I do and than we do. Of course, there's also the cultural gap between United States and Italy. There's a lot of that, a lot of our rituals, time that we spend together, percentage of the time that we dedicate to food and meals. So not luckily, but surprisingly, what I did not expect from Nashville was finding that Southern thing because I didn't know much about it. But there's a lot of the Southern thing in common between Nashville and especially Sicily. So a lot of that Southern welcome and all this stuff. And
Yeah, it's incredible, to find out how the South is always something different, something special. If I think about Sicily as a south of Italy, or even Italy as a south of Europe, South has something magic, a lot of connections. And well, I mean, in Sicily we had mafia, so there's nothing that different from shootings in Tennessee. So
There you go.
Memphis, there's in this moment, sadly, is living a weird moment with the crime. And people ask me, Mario, are you afraid? I come from Catania that has incredible crime, especially in the past. So nothing that different.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely a cultural thing here. So, do you guys find yourself bringing in Italian influences into your music when you play, or do you try and keep that separate? Even if you're redoing somebody else's song or doing like the rockabilly or anything, do you bring in Italian music influences?
You cannot delete your roots. Your roots always come out naturally, even if you are not aware. Just like speaking, even though maybe I'm speaking with the right accent, but it's completely not.
Yeah.
You can tell that I'm Italian. Same thing when you play. There's something art that we carry with us. We put into the American music, our Italian taste. Just like if an Italian cooks burgers, cooks them with the Italian flavor. So Luca has a lot of Italian cooking.
yeah, no, I mean, for me, it's interesting. I'm just a bass player and underline just.
Put
but,
yourself down.
But the thing is that I realized there's a lot in the way of work, like handling work. It's different, and I cannot get rid of my cultural upbringing when I work. Like music-wise, I don't know. When I play bass, I don't know what's the difference between playing a bass in American or playing a bass in Italian. Even though I have to say that I realized recently that a lot of the Morricone stuff, especially from the 60s, 70s, probably my sound is shaped more after that than anything else. But that's another story, way too nerd. But there's a lot of that. Like for me, I realized, and Mario's the same way, because I noticed that talking to people that live in Memphis and know Mario, there's a lot that comes in the networking and building community that we're very proud of. The Italian community is a very proud Italian community. I mean, the business meeting over dinner and that kind of stuff. There's a lot of that we cannot get rid of. I see it in my band. I cannot just do what I'm supposed to do. I need to do something more to prove that to prove that I can do it, and second, to prove that without, like, I'm essential to the operation, something like that. And I feel like there's a lot of that in the Italian mindset. There's a lot of complication and implication, both positive and negative in this. We can talk for hours about this, but there's a lot of that. More than do your job and prove that you're essential.
Gotcha. And so that's where that kind of comes in for you, that Italian part.
Yeah. Especially like the networking, the PR, like talking to everybody, being friend with everybody. Like, yeah.
Bring out the Italian charm, right?
Oh, dude, yeah, big time. And I see sometimes myself from the outside, and it annoys me. But like, on the other hand, I know that that's why I'm working so much, and that's who I am, and that's why people know me. So, yeah.
Yeah. I love that. That's great. So now, Valentina, this film is being debuted, is that correct, at the NIAF Gala this coming up? Is that this coming up Saturday?
No, it was this Saturday.
Oh, it was this Saturday. I'm sorry.
A couple days ago. No, that's okay. So basically, NIAF is the National Italian American Foundation, possibly the largest group that gathers together Italians in the US and Italian Americans to provide support of any kind. So it's to provide a networking space, but also they give a lot of support for example, scholarships or exchange programs. They try to do their best to reconnect and enhance the connection between the United States and Italy. They are in their 50th year right now, and so they held a very big gala event in DC a couple days ago. Obviously, this film was part of the partnership they had with Aurelio De Laurentiis, who is one of the most important film producers in Italy and also the president of the Naples football team. It was an amazing event because not only we premiered the film, but also Andrea Bocelli was there, John Elkann, a lot of entrepreneurs, and it was very, very, very emotional for us. So it just premiered there, and I can't think of a better space for us to showcase our work.
Yeah. And it's Italian Heritage Month also.
Yeah,
so I mean,
absolutely.
that worked out perfect.
It's interesting because I keep on forgetting this because I don't live in the US and I'm not American. I live in London. And I had no idea growing up in Italy that in the US there is an entire month dedicated to celebrating Italian culture and Italian American culture in the US. But I think it's very important because the Italian community has been marginalized or discriminated against for a long time. It's just in the past few decades that we actually got the recognition we need in the US. So it's really, really, really important that we can celebrate, Italian culture for a month in the US. And it's actually really good because the Italian community in the US is massive. We mentioned before that we tend not to associate the Italian experience to the southern states, but actually 8% of Tennessee population has Italian origins. It's a massive percentage if you think about it. Of course, there's larger communities in other states, but throughout the whole 50 states, it's full of Italians. And coming from the outside, anytime I travel to the United States, any state I visit, I keep on getting connected to Italians. As soon as I hear my accent or as soon as they understand that I'm from Italy, I get, a free invitation for dinner or for a chat. It's the most supportive community ever.
Now, with your film, you did a great job, especially like you just talked about, you don't live in America, of kind of capturing the honest picture of America with the hardships, the contradictions. You did a great job with that contrast. Was that something that you were shooting for?
Well, that's an interesting question because as a filmmaker, and especially when you deal with documentary, or as I prefer to call it, the cinema of the real, you have a huge responsibility because anytime you point the camera towards something, you're excluding everything else that's around you. So it's my point of view, but it's Luca's, Mario, and Mario's stories, and it's their lives within the context of Nashville, Memphis, the 4th of July, and so on. So to me, it was really important that I could be the most invisible as possible, that I could basically follow them rather than asking them to wait for me to be ready with the micro infrastructure that we had for the project. But also there is a strong ethical shade to me, because when you deal with the cinema of the real, you only have one shot. Things don't happen twice. And either you're ready or you're not. And also, yeah, so hopefully I did my best to capture their lives and also the context, the overarching context. And I try to be the least judgmental as possible, and especially because unfortunately we live in a very polarized society when we try to erase the complexity of things. My aim was to return this complexity, to show this complexity, because in the end, life is complex, even though, to quote Mario, it has more fantasy than we have. But overall, it's very complex. So hopefully through their stories, I was able to show a slice of their lives, basically.
Yeah. Mario, you had a quote that made me tear up during the movie when you said something about my family gave me my roots, but music gave me the wings. Could you talk about that? I thought that was so beautiful.
Yeah, family, especially for Italians, but I think for everybody, is the main source from which you structure yourself. Especially when you grow, you realize, and you look back, you realize what you got from the people you grew up with. So family, even friends, longtime friends, those are the things that really you carry for the entire life. And somehow they pass you the guns to face life and to face all the compromises that you need to, that life puts you in front. And so when you have solid roots, you can do whatever you want. If you are structured, if you have something solid inside of you. And rock and roll gave me the wings because really music really changed my life. You know, I grew up in a well, music was part of my family environment. My sister, piano player, grand aunt that was a soprano singer, but mainly my dad was a lawyer, my mother was a teacher, so I grew up in that kind of environment. This is why I ended up to work at the court. I was a court clerk, and I did it for 17 years, 2 years in Sicily and 15 years in Rome. But at the same time, I kept on playing music every night. At one point, if you have that urgency, you gotta make a choice. If you don't have solid roots, you're gonna make the right choices. And the other quote, Valentina just said that life is more fantasy than we have. I would never imagine, to move to the United States at the age of 43. Luca is way younger than I am. And so for him, it's the right age to do this stuff. When you are in your 40s already, I think that, okay, now it's time to get settled. That's not for me. I even moved to Rome when I was 30. Usually, especially my generation, if you are 30, you have a girlfriend, you get married, you have to work at the court. That wasn't for me. And I moved to Rome. In Rome, I got aware of my being artist. So Rome, I would say that Rome was the arch that sent me here in the United States. So really, I'm grateful to music. It gave me something special.
All the way to Nashville, it got you.
Yes.
So Luca, Mario, he talked a little bit about how he kind of grew up listening to the rock and roll, the rockabilly type of music. Did you grow up listening to that as well? Were you attracted to that kind of music?
Yeah, it was an interesting thing because I found myself playing the music because I needed money. And I moved back to Sicily when I was 19 and tried every different job, and it didn't work out in any of those jobs. And a friend of mine told me, well, you know how to play bass, right? So why don't you switch to upright bass and join my rockabilly band, which I've never heard the word before. So I didn't know what it was about. I didn't know what happened. So I started playing it, and I realized that, first of all, I liked it. I liked it a lot. I liked playing the upright bass more than I thought. And it gave me a profession, especially in those years. I think it's probably the same now, but in those years it was great. In Sicily, you could play every night in different bars. The good thing about rockabilly music is that everybody enjoys it, like from the kids to the old people that grew up in those years or were born in those years. Like everybody can tap their feet to rock and roll or dance a little bit, and they recognize the music from movies or whatever. So that became my thing after. That's how I started playing that music, and then I started touring with that, and it became better and better and better. So like it was like from there it was all downhill from there. So.
And did you see yourself moving to Tennessee also, or did you have another place you wanted to go when you came to America?
So I did this tour 2016 or 17, no, 18, with James Tintwell. He's a songwriter from Los Angeles. And I was just subbing because they didn't have a bass player. So we did this tour between Netherlands, Switzerland, UK, and some other stuff. And the level, like, I remember I played the first of 6 shows. And right after the first show, he called me in his hotel room. It was late at night, and I had to stay there for 4 hours discussing every single bass line that I played with him. And he clearly, what I felt it was humiliating at the time, he did it because he believed in me and he saw probably some potential. And what happened after the tour is that after the last show, I realized why he was telling me that, because there's a specific role of every single note a bass player is playing. So on our way back to the airport, they were flying back to LA. I was flying back to Italy. I was like, I don't want to go back to my usual music. I want to step up now. Like, I feel like I need to do something better. And he told me straight up, like, move to Nashville. Don't go to any other town. Just move to Nashville. And I didn't know much about Nashville, but then I went there to see what was going on. I knew some people through festivals, some musicians and stuff. And when I got there, I was like, oh my God, this is like 24/7 music exhibit here. Now, like, everybody's a musician, everybody has played with somebody. And it's great also because since everybody has played with somebody important, nobody cares. So it's not like you go like I don't know, like even in our hometowns, like if you play with somebody that's slightly more important, you brag about it. But in Nashville, nobody cares. And I love, like, for example, like I always tour with the idea of moving to New Orleans or to New York City because of their music scene. But the Nashville has that compromise with cost of living and actual like density of musician that it's unbelievable. I mean, even Mario, that was a diehard Memphis fan, he moved to Nashville. So we got him, and it means a lot.
Well, and then, I mean, Priscilla Presley makes an appearance in the documentary. How did that come about? And did you guys all get a chance to meet her?
Yes, actually, I played for Priscilla Presley in Memphis. In 2022, there was a night for Priscilla Presley honoring her for her activity over the years, especially, of course, for her activity around Graceland Museum. So I played for her. I was in the orchestra. Actually, I was leading the orchestra, and we have a mutual friend. So we are still today. We are still in touch. Every once in a while, it happens that we spend some time together. It's kind of, for me, yeah, talking about life as more fantasy. It's like I'm dealing with Priscilla Presley. She's an incredible character. She was a part of another project that I produced a few years ago for support Ukraine. She participated. So she always, and she has that enthusiasm to be involved, that she wants to be involved in things. I think that she liked the topic
Mm.
freedom, the American dream. So we, with Valentina, I said, Valentina, why would you like to have, a little cameo? So we thought about it, and Valentina, of course, said, okay, let's go
Yeah,
ahead.
absolutely. But in practice, for me, it meant not only, I mean, we had somehow the connections or some degrees of connections. I had to write a letter to explain, obviously, to invite her to join the project. And it's not easy. What do you write to Priscilla Presley?
No doubt.
I am nobody. The project is very simple. It doesn't have, let's say, a huge distribution deal at that point. So what do you write? And also we are in the AI era where many people keep on writing with AI, but then you have your responsibility of explaining the project. So it was really, I guess, obviously there was the degree of connections, and the project, as Mario said, is relevant to her life and to what's dear to her. But I also believe that she really believed in our team, in the people that we are, and the way we wanted to tell this story. So from my point of view, I had to write a letter, and it was incredible, because that again, life has more fantasy than we have. That's even beyond our wildest dreams, or at least my wildest dreams. On the other hand, because this is Luca and Mario's story, but it's set within Tennessee and the United States, she represents, more than 70 years of music, of culture, of Tennessee vibe. So it was the perfect cherry on top, and somehow our godmother in a good way for this project.
Did she enjoy the American Dream part at the end?
That has an interesting story, because that's the second project that I make in the US. And I realized when I did the previous one that was about AP Giannini, who's the founder of the Bank of America, I came back to Italy and I said, oh my God, I haven't asked anybody what's the American dream. And I thought it was a big mistake that I did as a filmmaker, because that was a story about ethical banking and the way people were able to grow financially and become, and to settle better in the United States. So this time I thought, okay, I want to understand what is the American dream today, over 100 years later. So I wanted to ask Luca and Mario and also show through their lives. But I also wanted to ask Americans, because it was the 4th of July. And it was interesting to hear the answer, because in the end, this is a story about whatever the American dream is. Because I guess, the cultural sense of the American dream is very present in the United States. We don't really get it 100% from the outside. So for me, that was my anthropological investigation into the whole thing. And I was thinking, if I could ask only one question to the Americans that are joining July the 4th celebrations in Nashville, what would that be? So my question was, what is the American dream? And these are the answers that we had at the end of the film.
And it was so cool with the background and everything too.
What's the American dream for you, Stephanie?
Well, I think being able to pursue what I want to do. I have this podcast, which I did not see. I guess I always knew that I would do something with my Italian heritage, and this kind of sprung up, and the ability to pursue this and to tell these stories and to reach out and meet people like you guys. I do a lot of research to tell stories about people who lived in the late 1800s. And so I think just having that ability to be proud, like I'm proud to be American, of course, but the ability to say that I'm also proud of my Italian heritage and portray that to an American audience, and I'm like I said, I'm a proud American. So I do love that chance. And for you, Luca and Mario, was music that channel for you to experience that or to live that?
Yeah, definitely. For me, it's what you said, like the ability to express yourself and build also your identity and career through what you want. And this is a big difference for me from, sadly, coming from Italy versus America, because in Italy, it's a very stale economy. So you're pretty much going to belong to the social class that you were born in. Whether here, you see, like, as soon as you move here, that can change. And that can change easily if you want to. So yes, music definitely channeled that. And it's interesting because not only two things are very surprising and interesting for me about the United States. One is that, yes, you can climb social classes if you want to. Even if you come from a family that never owned a house or never owned property, you can own property, which coming from a social, like a poor social class, for me, it's unbelievable. And the second thing is that music can make that happen. What the United States, for me, is proving is that there is a musician middle class that it's strong and it's self-determining its own social position. And for me, that's unbelievable. And that's the reason why I'm here and why I stay here when I want to be here.
It's a great vehicle, really, that can carry everything from the emotions to the social elements. And as Luca was saying, in Italy, it's to think, work with music, you gotta be considered famous. And now, not even famous, you have to be hyper famous. So that's another definition. So it's not only famous, you have to be hyper famous. That means if you've done few talents, okay, you can, it's just like you're allowed to do that work. You know, just like if you want to be a lawyer, you gotta be the best. That's another topic, you know. If you want to be the best in your field, that's another story. But why not be a musician? So yeah, America has that genuinity, that freedom in the way of thinking that really allows you and embraces you and encourages you to do the things that you want to do. When I said I'm leaving the job at the court, because if you work for the government in Italy, that's considered gold. You will never quit a job like that. That's for life. So imagine when I said, hey, I'm quitting the job, I'm resigning from that job. Hey, you're crazy, you're 43. So even one of my sisters, when I said that, hey, don't ever search for me when at the age of 80 you'll be starving to death. Wow. Now she's the first who brags about me. Yeah, the American dream actually, really, we can extend the concept. When you realize in your life that you can do really the things, not that you want to do, that you think that really belong to you, to your persona, the way you feel, the way you think, that's nothing better. Nowadays, the 70% of people, they do things that they don't want to do, and that's very sad, because you get that in that loop of depression, and you start projecting that sadness in people around you. That can be your partner, it can be your friends. It's kind of sad. That's not joy. Why kill that joy? You know.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and I think when you pursue an American dream or a passion, it usually comes with a lot of hard work also, where you could go, and I have a 9 to 5 job. I'm a teacher, but then like you were saying, you get kind of stuck in that loop where this is more of my passion. It's a lot of work. Sometimes I feel like I'm back in college, but and I think that kind of goes back to what Luca was saying earlier. You've got to put that hard work in.
Do the things that you want to do. It doesn't mean that there's no sacrifice behind that.
Exactly.
Actually, it's the opposite. It's even more sacrificing.
Yes.
Look at Luca. Luca seems to be sacrificed.
Yes, he does.
Okay, you're
there he is.
again.
He's back. So, Valentina, if you could have an audience, like whoever watches your film, what is one thing that you would love for them to take away from this documentary?
Well, that's a very good question. And I guess it depends on the audience, but things are complex. Life is complex. And we need to immerse ourselves into complexity again. Because the story, like Luca and Mario's, it's very, personal. It's actually, on the other hand, very political in a good way, not in a polarizing way. So what I want people to take home with them when they watch this kind of project is that life is complex, and that our work as musicians or artists is to bring people together, regardless of their own ethics, ideology, and so on. But also to have fun, because it's interesting to take a look at someone else's lives in a very genuine way. One thing that I appreciate about this project is that it's full of films about very famous musicians that take us backstage. And honestly, it's a genre, it sells a lot. I find it pretty boring because they need to show that they are real people and blah, blah. I want to see more projects when we talk about regular people doing extraordinary things. And that's the story of Luca and Mario. So that's why I think the audience could empathize with that and see that there is a lot of hard work, but also that art can bring people together.
Yeah.
So me and Mario are not the famous musicians?
Well,
hey, Mario, can you step up, please?
not yet. But that's not the point, Luca. That was not the point of what I was saying.
And Luca, you're on tour right now, is that right? What I was going to ask
Yeah,
all of you guys,
I'm a very famous musician. He's actually touring in a Sprinter van right now. We're going all over the United States. As I was mentioning before to Stephanie, we've been through like the most beautiful part of the country. It's gorgeous it's great to be out here. And we did New Mexico, Texas, New Mexico, Colorado, Utah, all of them. Now we're going a big circle around, trying to go back to Nashville for a few days, and then we're going to go to Canada. So it's nice to be out here and to see the whole country. This country is gorgeous.
Yep, it's so big.
Especially right now, I have this view of the hills of Idaho. We're traveling from Washington to Idaho, and it's wild. It's amazing. Stunning.
So, Mario and Valentina, do you guys have any upcoming projects that you'd like to share with the listeners?
I just produced an album that came out a month ago for Tap Falco, and it's going very well. It had been rated one of the best albums of 2025 in UK. So that's a great thing that I did. Now I have an album coming out of mine. So hopefully end of December. That's another thing. I'm working on another project, spaghetti Western project. So talking about Italian American stuff. And that's the song of the documentary of the film that is going to be out at the end of the month. So I don't know, hopefully me and Luca will be on tour playing only that song.
I'm a filmmaker. I forgot to mention my production company, Daytona, and my colleagues, Lorenzo Giovenga and Lorenzo Lazzarini, who produced the film with me. We actually have another project out tomorrow. It's premiering in Rome. It's called Uncovered Rome, and it's a documentary series. And it's premiering at the Rome Film Festival tomorrow. And then, yeah, we keep on producing a lot of different things. So if people want to check out what they do, they can find us on Instagram or on our official website. It's Daytona, but spelled with an I rather than with a Y. And if I can take a minute just to thank all the partners that were part of this project. So besides Daytona, we worked also with Mnemonica, ORG Music, the University of Greenwich, the Nashville Film Commission, the Memphis Film Commission, and I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody, but all the partners that were able to support this project were actually, I wanted to thank them, because anytime I'm being asked what's next, it's only possible because of the team that supported the current project. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And so where can our listeners watch the film, and where can they follow all of you guys to keep up with your projects and listen to your amazing music and watch your amazing films?
So the release date of the film is yet to be announced, but if you follow daytona.it, even on Instagram, you can catch up with all the release dates and the latest updates. Luca and Mario, I don't know if you want to share your contacts.
Oh, yeah. My Instagram is Mario Redmount, Redmount. Redmount actually is my last name, Monterosso, translated in English. So you find me over there, and Mario Monterosso on Spotify and all the, the traditional channels, YouTube or Apple, whatever.
Perfect.
And Luca Chiappara is Luca Chiappara.
I'll plug it in the show notes for him.
Yeah, please do add all the tags in the
yes,
caption
absolutely.
of this podcast.
I definitely will.
901 3.
Oh.
Luca, don't worry. We're supporting you.
We'll get it in there for you. Well, I just want to thank all three of you for coming on and for giving me the chance to view the documentary. I really enjoyed it, and I enjoyed our conversation. It was great to meet all of you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. Good luck with
Thank
your
you.
project.
Thank you, and good luck to all of your projects as well. All right. Bye.